Hello, hello everyone. Can you let me know if you can hear my voice? Just going to test out tech before we start. Awesome, cool. You can see me and you can hear, awesome. So I'm just going to wait a little, just 1 or 2 more minutes, and then we're going to get started. Let me just get all my tech set up. Cool, let me know if you guys can see the screen as well. Cool. I'm going to apologize in advance. Apparently with Zoom webinar, whilst I present my PowerPoint, I can't actually see people's chat. So I'm going to be going in and out of the presentation just so that I can check the chat. But might get kick-started. There's already quite a few people on the call. So I'll just go to this slide. I'd love to know what's your name, which city you're located, and what did you guys have for lunch? Use the chat button below at the bottom of the webinar screen and start letting me know those answers. Tanvir, Sydney, she had dal and roti. Who else? By the way, everyone, this is going to be a really practical webinar, so I need you guys to engage via the chat button. Benit, she also is from Sydney. She had toast. Shantanu from Sydney, chole, which is chickpeas, great. Saksham from Sydney, obviously didn't have lunch because he hadn't put anything. Sanam and Govinda had popcorn and chicken. They're in Melbourne. Dipin is from Melbourne. She had salad. Great. How about everyone else? Quite a few people on the call. For me, I also had boring dal and roti. Okay. Awesome. Maybe also just share what's the weather where you guys are at. Is it sunny? Is it rainy? Is it cold as hell? Is it hot? Let me know. Sunny but cold. Yeah. You're in Melbourne though. Sunny but cold as well. Wow. It's probably just an Australian thing right now. Sunny but cool. Riveting question. Yeah, sunny but cold. God, everyone's experiencing the cold. So what we might do is, we've got quite a few people. There's now 14 or so people on the call. I might start. I'm just going to record this as well. And I think it's automatically recording. Okay, and we're going to get kick-started, right? So number one, thank you all for joining the call. I guarantee this is going to be a really, really cool webinar for you guys, and it's going to be a really, really practical workshop. So my name is Amardeep Gill. Really looking forward to doing this online workshop with you guys, and I'm based in Brisbane. I'm the peak performance coach and founder of Build Your Now, and I'm also YSPN's leadership development lead. So over the past couple of years, I've had the really good fortune to be working with a whole bunch of senior executives, managers, business owners, and high achievers in general. And I've been helping them to experience more impact, more flow, more fulfillment in all areas of their life through primarily improving mindset, performance, and wellness. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to be really focusing on the mindset components, specifically around clarity. And what you're going to notice is that you'll most likely see an improvement in your performance as well as your general wellness just by getting clear on what really matters to you and drives you in both your life as well as your career or your business. So first off, why are we here? Why are we talking about this topic? Needless to say, everyone currently knows about COVID, right? And a lot of people have been forced into self-isolation. So, oh, by the way, let me just check real quick. You guys can't see the participant panel on my screen, can you? Just got to make sure. No, awesome, cool. Sorry, just wanted to make sure. I know that some video conferencing tools are all different, so sometimes people see gray boxes where they shouldn't see gray boxes, but it doesn't look like that's the case for us. So yeah, obviously we're currently in the COVID pandemic, and a lot of people have been forced into self-isolation. So some people see this whole environment that we're going through right now as a curse and a complete write-off to 2020. I've seen countless Facebook and Instagram memes, some of them really, really funny, but I think it's a little bit sad to be thinking of this as a really, really negative situation. I think it's provided an amazing opportunity actually for people to really sit and be alone in their own body and in their mind, which otherwise really wouldn't have been possible due to always being busy and somewhat being on autopilot, which is what life used to be like, right? And I think the vast majority of people have obviously been stuck at home, and being combined with unable to seek pleasure from external sources, things like recreational venues, entertainment venues, doing social activities with big groups of people. The inability to do that has largely created a void in people's lives, or large voids actually, where people don't necessarily know what to do, since they used to do things that were really outside and external to them. And for some, they might have started feeling like, something was actually missing. And so for me, I call this the outside-in approach, where essentially a person's identity and their fulfillment is largely dependent on things that are external to them. So for example, only being able to derive joy or happiness or some sort of excitement by going to a restaurant and meeting with friends. So obviously restaurants had shut down, some of them are starting to open now, but if restaurants were shut down and that was the only way for you to fulfill feeling connected, feeling joy, feeling some sort of excitement, what do you do now, right? And does that mean that you can't experience those things? The answer is obviously not, right? Of course you can experience those things, but naturally not many people are consciously aware of what makes them ticks and why they do the things that they do. So when your normal routine is disrupted and you have things essentially unavailable to you, uncertainty starts to creep in, and that starts to create feelings of loss, anxiety, fear. If this is you, don't worry, you're not alone. I can guarantee you tons of people are feeling the exact same way, even those people you think that have it all together. In fact, a couple of days ago, I was having a call with an editor-in-chief for this magazine that I've just been admitted to publish to. And this person, this editor-in-chief, works a lot with entrepreneurs. And he was saying that, yeah, a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs, they don't have it together. They lack massive clarity as to why they started that business, what they want from life, what they want from the business, as well as things in general. So you would think that entrepreneurs who are generally, the forefront, they're quite courageous, they're quite bold. You would think that those people have it all together. I can guarantee you a lot of them don't. Even a lot of the senior people that I work with, people who've got years and years of experience, who've got gray hair, you would think, oh, they've got everything figured out. I can guarantee you they don't. So it's natural when there's uncertainty in various environments, you'll start to feel these things. The best thing that we can do right now, though, especially in this current environment, as well as anything future, is to cultivate a sense of clarity, a sense of confidence, and more certainty in ourselves so that we can get through this situation as well as anything else. We don't know how long COVID's going to last. I'm not going to speculate on future waves. I don't want to be Twitter fact-checked like Trump, and also because I know that there's doctors on the call. But most organizations I know are going to be continuing to work from home till September. I read recently that Google will be telling their employees to work from home up to March 2021. That's 10 whole months from now. So I think it's been about 3 months since, you know, this new normal has stuck in. Potentially this could go on for quite a while going into the future. The thing is, thing I just want to, what do you call it, hammer is that there's so much of uncertainty. And the question that I want to pose is, does that mean that life has to go on pause, that life gets written off and that you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't feel this way, you can't feel that way, etc. I think most people don't want that, right? And I know if you're on this call that you definitely don't want that. So instead of living the outside in approach where you're essentially at the mercy of the world, wouldn't it be cool if you could live what I call inside out? Disney might have some qualms about me using that, but I don't really care. This is essentially where you know what's internally important to you and you start designing activities around that clarity and that are within your locus of control. Okay? And I think that's why we're here today. I'm going to be showing you how you can use this whole COVID experience to re-emerge and redefine yourselves personally as well as professionally. So what that means is that I'm going to help you guys understand what's driving your behaviors, your decisions, and the actions that you take on an unconscious level. I'm going to help you identify what's really important to you, both in life, outside of work, and within your work. And then finally, we're actually going to make this really practical and design work-life activities that are actually aligned with what you want. Does that sound good, everyone? If you could, type yes into the chat box, and I'm just going to check the chat as well. Yay, yes, good G. Awesome, cool. So one thing that I wanted to share is that obviously this is going to be a really practical chat box. I'm going to be getting you guys to use the chat. Did I say this is going to be a really practical chat box? I mean, it's going to be a very practical workshop. I'm going to be getting you guys to use the chat box a lot. I'm just going to send you a link again if you didn't receive it before. This is the link to the worksheets that we're going to be working through. If you printed them out, great. If you didn't, literally don't worry. Just make sure that you have some pen and paper ready. Right through, and you can write down the exercises as we go through them. Essentially, it'll also be really, really good for you guys to have some water as well, which is what I should have done, but obviously I didn't. So I'll just present again. And also at the end of this this workshop, I just want to let you guys know something that we're working on within YSPN. Something quite interesting. It's really going to benefit you guys personally, professionally, I meant. So make sure that you stick around all the way to the end, okay? So let's get started, right? Lots of people I've seen during and before this current period didn't really have a clear understanding of what was really driving their behaviors, their decisions, and their actions in life and in work. Think of it like a compass that's broken. Either the needle is broken or it's just spinning around like crazy. How can you possibly navigate when you've got a broken instrument? So without understanding your drivers, it's a lot harder to make decisions on what the next step of your career may be, or potentially making you feel like you're in a role that is compromising your beliefs. Also, it's really hard to identify the activities that you really, really want to do in life, the things that actually drive you towards feeling inspired, motivated, connected, joyous, happy, adventurous, etc. On the flip side, when you have a clear understanding as to what really drives you, you're better able to make better and wiser career decisions. You're able to bring the best self to work and in life in general. And you're also going to be doing activities that you're actually driven by. By doing those type of activities, you'll be able to experience far more positive emotions, including increased energy, passion, and creativity. And I'll explain as to why this is important in a story. For me, I've had a varied career. I've had tons of jobs over the past 10 years. I've got to work at massive software giants, multi-global consulting companies, smaller and boutique firms, as well as startups. So I've really tried a lot of different things, potentially to my detriment, right? In my second job, I accepted a grad role in Sydney within a large multinational consulting company. And to be honest with you guys and be vulnerable, it was the hardest, most depressing, and lonely 2 years of my life. The reasons why: it was a very highly aggressive and toxic culture within the organization that that essentially flowed down into the people and the processes, and that meant that I was surrounded with colleagues essentially that weren't very genuine, they weren't very authentic, and the culture of the organization really promoted a cutthroat type environment where people would step on each other to get promotions. I naturally didn't fit in very well there. I started to lack massive motivation to go to work. I became a really toxic person. You guys would not have liked to meet me, like 8 years ago. And I became mentally, emotionally, and physically really unhealthy. It got to the point where I think for the last 6 months or last year, whilst I was in Sydney, I was literally uninspired to cook. I'd come back home late, so naturally I had no more energy. I was stressed out. The last thing I wanted to do was cook. So what's the easy option? Just to buy food. What did I buy? I bought Domino's pizza. I used to get 4 boxes over the weekend, and I used to get it delivered as well because I didn't have a car. So needless to say, I put on a lot of weight. I was not very healthy mentally, emotionally, and physically, and that took years. That took years and years to recover. Also in that organization, I felt like I had a really strong belief around producing good quality work. I wanted to be proud of the things that I was creating and happy to put it in front of people. And I also, I think, am quite a truthful person. But in that role that I was in, especially with the nature of consulting companies and project work, things have to be done within really, really, really short time frames. So if that's the case, sometimes quality has to take a step back. So I wasn't really happy with the stuff that I was putting forward. And my bosses and my managers were like, who cares, Amity, just get the bare minimum done so that we can get paid by the client. That's essentially how life was going. So, and what I had also noticed is that because of that environment, I wasn't developing deep connections with people. So for me, that's something that I'm really driven by. You're going to find that out soon. And when you want something and the environment doesn't provide it, then it's sort of like a rubber band. It keeps on pulling, and it creates a lot of tension. That's how sometimes things happen in life. There's a lot of tension, and sometimes that rubber can't take it and it'll snap. So I could sit down, I could continue to go on. I don't want to moan. And I'm also not playing the victim card, or I'm not asking for pity. In reflection, I'm actually really, really, really happy that I went through this experience, because it taught me so many valuable lessons. One of those lessons is that if I had a clearer understanding as to what really drove me, I would have made far better career and life choices. Okay, and I'm happy to say that I did. I then went on to work for SAP. For those of you who know it, it's one of the biggest software giants in the world. They're a German company as well, so Germans they really love quality and getting really, really amazing products and services together. So I fit in perfectly there. It was an extremely entrepreneurial role. I got to work with so many cool people. They were genuine. They were authentic. They took a real keen interest in your professional development as well as you personally. And shortly, I'm going to share with you why I'm loving what I'm currently doing. But for right now, I just wanted to find out, does this resonate with you, or have you found yourself in a similar situation? Again, please use the chat. We'd love to hear from you guys. Ah, oh, damn, I can't read, can't see the chat. So just make sure that you guys type into the chat. Does that story resonate with you all? Yeah, definitely been there many times, know what you're talking about. Nope, that's cool if that hasn't happened to you. Yeah, cool, good. So yeah, I'm glad that resonates. This chat function is not going how I thought it would. There's a good suggestion section, but I don't want to waste any more time. We'll work with it later. Anyway, so what I'm going to do now is, yeah, I'll try to do that section. I'll get to the next activity and I'll do that. So what I wanted to go through now is to go through a model that's really going to help you guys to identify what your drivers are. And it's called the 6 core needs. Tony Robbins, who some of you guys might be familiar with, is pretty much the most famous life and leadership coach in the world right now. He built upon a model from John Burton and Abraham Maslow. I'm sure you guys have heard of Maslow's hierarchy. And my mentor, Joe Parnay, who's one of Australia's foremost behavioral experts, built on top of this model to identify that 1 or 2 of these core needs are going to be your operational drivers, i.e. they're the things that you're really, really driven by. So the core needs are significance, certainty and security, love and connection, variety, growth and contribution, and I'll go through them in a lot more detail now. So significance, by the way, feel free to write on page 3 of your worksheet, write down some notes for each of these sections. So significance is really about needing to feel important, to feel special, unique, or be needed. There are many people out there, whether in work, whether in relationship, or whether in their personal lives, where people ignore them. And so what happens is that for them to feel significant, they'll act out. And they might act out in a good way, they might act out in a bad way. Like if you think of a toddler, for example, they'll cry because they want attention, they want to feel significance, right? But if they're all happy and you're off on your own because they're like, oh cool, the baby's all good, I don't need to worry about them at all, then they'll go, wait a minute, I'm not getting that attention. If I continue to act good, then I'm going to continue not to get attention because my parents are off knowing that I'm fine. So in order to get attention, I'll act out, I'll cry, I'll throw a tantrum, and then people will focus on me. This is a very unresourceful way to feel significant. There are obviously better ways to do it, but this is what that need is really about. The next one is about security or certainty. This is where you need some sort of stability, some sort of security or certainty in your life. As an example, having a full-time job is an example of having some security, specifically financial security, where you know that every month or every fortnight or every week, you're going to be getting a paycheck, you can pay your bills, you can buy food, etc., etc. Having a roof over your head is another form of security. This is about creating some sort of order in your world, external world, and also it's about being certain and secure in who you are as a person. I was talking at the beginning about a lot of people going out and finding their joys and their pleasures externally, and with that shutdown, they're not able to get it. So there's uncertainty there, right? So that's why they feel anxious and fearful and all that sort of stuff, because essentially that form of security has been taken away from them. Love and connection. This is really about the need for communication, to feel connected with other human beings. Humans are a social species, so we all need to feel love. We all need to feel connection. Some less than others, some more than others. If you're on either extreme, you'll start to feel it. If you have too much of connection and maybe with people, you might feel like you're overwhelmed and pressured. On the flip side, I know a ton of execs who have just completely thrown themselves into their career, potentially with inauthentic and not genuine relationships. And so what they start to crave is something real, some real connection, some real love, right? Again, this can be fulfilled unresourcefully or resourcefully. Variety and uncertainty. So this is really about variety being the spice of life. Those that are driven by this need to do something new. They need to have some sort of variation in their job role or in their personal life. Sticking to the one thing makes these people feel bored. For everyone who's born in the 1990s, you'll know of Pokemon. I used to play it. And I remember I would never stick with the same Pokemon for very long. I would always keep on getting rid of them because I wanted variety. It's a funny example, but hopefully it's stuck. Growth. This is about developing personally as well as within your career or your business. Growth is really about pushing boundaries and about expanding the limits of your comfort zone. Okay? If you're not growing, you're dying. And lastly, contribution, and this is massive. This is about giving to something far bigger than yourself. This could be contributing selflessly as part of a community you're in. It could be you doing some not-for-profit work. It could be you donating to charities, whatever it is. Now, as I mentioned, we all meet these needs one way or another. We can meet them resourcefully or we can meet them unresourcefully. But what I want to focus on is that there are one or two of these that are probably responsible for driving the majority of your behaviors, your decisions, and your actions. As I mentioned before, I learned a lot about what drives me through all those various jobs that I've been in over the last couple of years and by trying a whole bunch of different things. If you don't try something, you don't know, right? And what I learned is that I'm highly driven by connection and variety. As I mentioned before, in the consulting company, I wasn't fulfilling a need for. I wasn't feeling like the need for connection was being met, because for me, I wanted deep, genuine, authentic, and intimate relationships with my colleagues and everyone else, and I couldn't get that. So because that was a really big thing for me, every single day I was focused on it, and every single day I didn't get it, I was obviously unhappy. With variety, it also explains why I've been changing jobs so often, because I get bored very, very, very easily. So one of the things that I believe that I've sort of hit the jackpot on is that with coaching, which is what I'm doing right now, I'm fulfilling both. So I'm getting variety because I work with different people. Everyone has a different story. They've lived a different life. They've got different problems. They've got different goals. How much more variety can you get, right? And then by working with these people over a period of weeks to months, I'm developing senses of connections and bonds with my clients. So for me, you can see how I've now chosen a path that is quite aligned with what primarily drives me yours is going to be different. And by the way, this isn't set in stone. This could be for right now, could be for the next 5-10 years. As your life situation changes as well, sometimes circumstance will change and you'll be driven to seek something else. As I mentioned at the beginning, pandemics, wars, crises, etc. is essentially where there's a lot of uncertainty. So a lot of people right now just want a sense of certainty, right? So that could be a driver right now as well, especially in really, really interesting circumstances like the ones we're living in. So based on these core needs, there's 6 of them. If you were to reflect on what you've been doing now in life and in your career, what are your 2 top drivers and why do you think so? Please use the chat, type into that, and I'm going to pull it off my phone while everyone is typing it away. So I'm going to just give me a second. I'm going to sign into my Zoom account on my phone and I'll check your answers shortly. But take some time to think about it. It might take a little while for you guys to reflect on what you've been doing now in life and what your core drivers are. Oh, section, I don't want to do that. I might screw with the webinar, so I might actually just go back to the chat function here. Damn, it's not coming up. Okay, give me a second. I'll just try signing in. If this goes off for some reason, stay tuned. I'll dial back in. Okay, that's me. Okay, that didn't work. Just give me 1 second. Okay, that didn't work on my phone, but I've got the chat up here. So people are saying variety and significance, significance and variety, growth, love, and connection. All core needs are present. I'll choose growth and variety. Awesome. Growth and security. Yeah. Yeah, and things may change. Things may change, Gurpreet, over the years, depending on what your life circumstances are. Daman says contribution and security. Great. Awesome. Good. So actually, if you guys don't mind, just so that I don't stuff up the webinar chat function again, I'm just going to present without sharing the screen. So and it just went. Okay, forget it. So that's really good that a lot of people have started to identify their core drivers. So that's awesome. What I'd like to find out as well from you guys is what's been most insightful about this section on core drivers. What have you learned about yourself? What have you learned about some of the behaviors and the decisions that you've been making to date? Some experience a shift over time. Awesome. What else has been insightful about this section? Not getting anything at the moment. All good. It's a lot to think about. So anyway, we'll continue on. That's essentially the driver section, and I think we'll be coming back to it later. It's going to be important for us to really define more of the activities and that you actually want to live more of in life. Now, moving on, 2 years ago, I was walking with one of my former bosses. We were walking back to the office. He was an amazing program director. He was leading this massive and ridiculously complex IT project. Absolute gem of a guy, very, very smart, very good at what he did. But he was stressed, really, really, really stressed. And I remember the moment really clearly. He was walking with me and he sort of turned around and he said, "Amity, what the hell am I doing with my career? All I'm learning is that my hair is growing gray even faster, that I'm destroying the relationship with my wife, and that I literally have no time with my kids." So that was one of the many conversations that we had with him, essentially on him not really knowing where life and career was going. So don't get me wrong, I'm not saying and I'm not advocating that you should just drop your career or you should stop your business or you should settle for something else. I am definitely not saying that, right? I think it's really important to continue doing that, do good work, and have an awesome job, be proud of your job and be proud of the career that you're running, your business you're running, and all that sort of stuff. That's perfect to actually do that. But what my previous boss had experienced in terms of not really knowing where he was going is a common sentiment that many of the people that I've worked with have come across. And that's really where, by not understanding their values, they're doing jobs or they're doing businesses that don't resonate with them, or worse yet, are in conflict with what they really desired. I mentioned this at the beginning that the consulting organization that I was working with, the real focus, like the sort of two-faced nature of developing relationships with people was in conflict with me wanting to develop authentic and genuine relationships. So there was a huge conflict there. That was a daily battle, right? So you can imagine that daily you're going to be feeling unresourceful things, and if that happens for months, that happens for years, how does that start to affect you? It's probably negatively, right? I also have identified that people who don't really have an understanding of values participate in undesired activities. So outside of work or maybe during work, they're doing things that they don't really care about. Some of the things you'll need to do, obviously, but like outside of work, for example, at that consulting company, everyone would go out for drinking. And I didn't drink, and I didn't really like going to the clubs and the bars and the pubs and everything because they were really loud environments. They weren't very intimate, and that's what really I desired. So I found myself doing activities that weren't really aligned with what I actually enjoyed. So I was wasting time doing that instead of spending hours doing other things that were actually aligned with what I want to do. And then I also found that people who don't have a clear understanding of their values, they find it difficult and stressful to make life and career decisions. There's some research that shows that people who don't think about their highest values before a stressful event or a stressful decision will experience more stress, because the cortisol will go up in their body. On the flip side, when you're able to identify values, your why or your purpose becomes a lot clearer, and your willpower to pursue your goals will also increase. There's a psychologist called Mark Mervyn, and he did a series of experiments to prove this. And he wanted to test the power of willpower. And essentially what he had done was he had two groups. He told group one that in this hypothetical situation, he said that group one, your work could create new therapies for Alzheimer's disease. So that's pretty cool that your work is actually going to contribute to something pretty big, right? And he told group two, try your best. So which group performed better? Naturally, group one, because the value of helping others through the work that you're doing gave that frustrating and complex and daunting task some purpose, and it also amped up the willpower of the participants. So that's pretty cool. Also, by knowing what your values are, you're able to reduce stress and increase your problem-solving skills. There was a guy called David Cresswell, a researcher, and him and his associates had found college students who were experiencing high stress were better able to figure out a creative problem-solving task under time pressure if they first wrote out a few sentences as to what their important values were. So when they identified and focused on those values, those significant values of theirs, they were able to solve as many problems in that time pressure environment as students that were in the lower stress group. You would think it would normally be the opposite way around. So that's pretty cool as well. And I think the thing that summarizes this really well for me is when your values are clear to you, making decisions becomes easier. And that's from Roy E. Disney. So if we would think of our driver as our North Star, the thing that's pointing us in the direction that we want, then our values are essentially those little lines around the edges where it makes us more easily able to locate precisely what we want in a more efficient manner, right? And so to help us identify what you value, I'm going to introduce you to a model called the Wheel of Life, and it was created by Paul Mayer in 1960s. I remember I had asked one of my clients who was a lawyer, I asked him, what's life to you? And obviously as a lawyer, he's working a lot, doing late nights and all that sort of stuff. And he said life was just work and family. That's it. After I showed this particular model to him, he realized that there was so much more to life, and he noticed how much he was neglecting and how he had stopped doing things that he loved to do and that he had actually nearly forgotten about. So this is now on page 5 of your workbook, and feel free to fill it out with me. The Wheel of Life comprises of 8 sections. So the first one is business or your career. So when you're thinking about this area of your life, think about, are you happy with your job or your business? Are you fulfilled? Are you achieving your goals that you've set? And is there room to grow? Next up is finances. So think about your income level. Is it the bracket which you want? How are your savings going? What's your incoming revenue versus your outgoings? Is it good revenue and small outgoings, or are you spending more than what you're making? Are you also budgeting for the things that you want to do? I think it's quite interesting in this current environment. When we talk about recession just means that money is changing hands, right? money isn't really being lost. It's just changing hands. It's going to different people. It's going to banks. It's going to different places, right? So a lot of people right now, actually, with not traveling and not going to work and saving a whole bunch of money, should technically have some some decent budgets available to them to do various things. So how is your finance situation going? Health. This is about the exercise that you do or the lack of. It's about the food you eat. Is it healthy? Is it unhealthy? How's your sleep? How are your energy levels? Really take all of those things into consideration when you think about your health. Next up is relationships. So this is the quality of the relationship with your friends and family. It's not a judgment of your friends and family, okay? Next up is romance. So you don't have to skip this section if you don't have a partner. There is such thing as self-love. What's the relationship and how much do you love yourself? You'd be surprised to know some people actually hate themselves. They've got really low self-images, self-worth. They hate everything about themselves. So obviously that wouldn't be going very well for them, right? If you do have a partner, how are your romantic needs being met? Both socially, physically, and emotionally. How are all those things being met? Next up is your physical environment. So this is the place in which you spend the majority of your time. If I were to run this model by you like 4 months ago when everyone was still at work, you may have spent majority of your time at work. So how's the environment over there? Is there natural lighting? Is there good ergonomics in your seating in your desk? Is there enough oxygen? Do you have access to sunlight into the windows? Is it a spacious environment? Is it cramped? Is it a really crappy environment to be in? If you spend majority of your time at home, the same thing. How are all those different criteria? It's actually this is a pretty interesting thing, physical environment. I thought little of it at first, but I realized that your environment around you has a big impact on how you think and how you feel. The next one is personal growth. So are you growing mentally? Are you growing emotionally? Are you growing spiritually? Are you overcoming any limiting beliefs, or are you clearing like past blockages which you think are preventing you from growing as a person? And lastly, probably the most fun, the one that I definitely have the most fun with my clients and obviously with myself, is fun and recreation. So what do you actually do for fun and recreation? Some people might be on here thinking, oh shit, I don't do any of that anymore. That's a good realization to have. What changed? So are you getting a sense of adventure? Are you going out and doing things? Are you, have you got hobbies? All that type of stuff leads into fun and recreation. So remember, this workshop is about redefining potentially who you want to be personally as well as professionally, right? So for this workshop, what I want you to focus on is obviously career or business. And I want you to choose just one area of life outside of business and career that you think needs the most amount of work right now. Please write that into the chat. What area of life do you want to work on outside of your career? Self-development, time management. Okay, so self-development is definitely personal growth. Enough. Oh, they're coming in really fast. Damn. Time management. Time management is probably going to be something that applies to career, to relationship. It's probably like an underlying concept. Health and fun. Cool. Okay, so Dippin, just choose one: health or fun and recreation. Beneath fun and recreation, the personal growth. Shantanu, personal growth and finances. Same thing, Shantanu, just choose one. Just for this workshop, you can choose as many as you want later, but just focus on one. Nikita, fun and recreation. Harpreet, health, physical and mental. Cool. Sonam, personal growth. Gorby, finances. Gurpreet, personal growth. Clara, finances. Tanvir, health. Binder, personal growth. Saksham, fun and recreation. Nice, awesome, cool. So that's really cool, right? We're going to be working on that. So let me just present again. So now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be identifying what's actually important to you in that area of life. And how we're going to do that is by understanding what a value is. We're going to be identifying your values. Values are something that's of importance to you. Okay, so it's going to be an emotional state. It's not the activity you do. Okay, values are pretty much like the fuel that you need in order to motivate yourself and to feel something in life. If you don't have a clear understanding of values and you're just doing things robotically and monotonously, then what are you experiencing? Nothing, right? The best moments in your life have been where you felt some sort of emotion, right? Someone's birth, a wedding, a promotion, a sense of achievement. It's those moments where you're like, oh, there's a lot of emotion in them, which makes you remember them, and which is what makes you actually driven to do more of that thing. So identifying your values is absolutely critical. We're obviously talking about this within a personal and professional sense. If I were to talk about this in a leadership context, like it's even more important within a leadership context as well. They still have values. So this is a massive, massive, massive topic. Okay, so for example, giving to a charity may be something that you hold important in the finance area of your life, right? But the donations themselves aren't the real value. They're a way in which you experience the certain emotion, which are the real values. So from making a charitable donation, you might get a sense of connection, a sense of warmth, a sense of feeling of helping another person or helping someone, or contributing to society. So the value might be contribution. And the way you experience that value is through donating money. I hope that makes sense. Remember, the value, it's the end state, it's the end emotion you feel, not the vehicle that gets you there, okay? Do you also notice, just based on that thing and from what I've been talking about, values are internal. They're internal to you. You experience them, okay? When I was in consulting, I'm really hitting that industry hard. I apologize if anyone is in consulting. It's not all bad. But when I was in consulting, every Friday night, my peers used to go out to the pub and they used to get drunk, right? And they did this to let off steam, to let off that stress and all that sort of stuff. So if I were to ask them, what do you value? They may have said that they value drinking. But that's wrong, because drinking is the activity. What they actually may have valued is connection or acceptance, in which they use drinking as a vehicle to achieve. In my opinion, it's probably not the healthiest vehicle. Coming back to everything being shut down and some things starting to open, but with pubs and bars currently shut for the moment, does that mean that they can't still feel connection or acceptance? No, right? It just means that they'll need to find different vehicles to achieve that. And in our current environment, those vehicles, the best ones, will be things that are self-initiated and within your locus of control, i.e., within your own control to actually do. So for the one area of life, and we'll focus on business, okay? So just type, this is on page 7 of your workbook, for career and business. I want you to think about, I'm going to give you a minute to write down 3 things that you value in the career or the business area of your life. Again, if you're feeling stuck, and you keep on thinking of an action like presenting to clients is what I value. That's an action. Think about what that action gives you. So presenting, you might get a sense of achievement, right? So that's the value, a sense of achievement. So if you keep on finding yourself thinking of an action, ask yourself, what does that give me? What does that give me? What does that give me? Until you find out the emotional state that's actually driving that behavior. So write down in the chat what your values are. Okay. By the way, I've got some examples here. Maybe it's better I go through that. So for example, within the career and business area of my life, I value pride in my work, I value growth, and I value creativity. And within creativity, I like the activities that I do to feel creative that are within my self-control, brainstorming ideas within a workbook, creating social media content. That's something that I can do, and it's what makes me feel creative when I'm writing out the posts and putting the graphics together, and then improving a specific business process. That's the things that I do to feel creative. So I'd love to learn what you guys are doing. So everyone, can you type into the chat for the business area of your life, what are 3 values? Someone has to go. Has any, please guys? Cool, awesome. Okay, then so connection, contribution, and growth. Okay? Yep, that's good. Who else? Pride in my work, growth, and connection from Dippin. Awesome. Or when you guys write it here in the chat, I can also provide a sanity check for you just to make sure that you're actually writing down the correct values. Dumin, growth and contribution. Intellectual stimulation, nice. Significance, awesome. Variety, awesome. Creativity, contribution by Gurpreet, nice. Awesome. Good work. Who else? Shantanu, excitement and creativity, nice. It's really good. I agree. If you have a career that doesn't have much excitement, it's pretty boring, right? So that's a good thing to have. Who else? There's quite a few people on the chat that haven't responded. Satisfaction, yep, good. Yep. So either write it, like I'd prefer if you guys write it in the chat, and you can write it in the workbooks later. Contribution and growth, awesome. So now what I want you to do is just for one of those values, so quite a few people have written down their values. For one of those values, what are 3 activities you can do to fulfill that value, to make sure that you experience more of that value? Remember that the best activities are going to be self-initiated, i.e. it's something that you do, not someone else's does, because you can't be dependent on other people, otherwise it may never happen. And ideally, it would be great if they're within your locus of control. So for one of the values, there's quite a few that everyone have written, you've all written 3. Choose one of them, and in the chat, write down what are 3 activities you can do to feel more of that value. Everyone's hard at work thinking about this. Love it. Okay. Nice. Okay, so Shantanu. So for the value of excitement, the activities you can do will be to explore more, take some risks, learn new methods. Could you get more specific with explore more? What does that actually mean? Is that, going out more and exploring your physical surroundings? Just be more specific. Gurpreet. So for creativity, you can work on improving processes at work. Nice. Creating presentations and working with people to come up with new ideas. Great. That's perfect. That's really good. Daman, for teachings, okay, I don't know what your value was, but your activities are teaching students, sharing notes and contents, more charitable work and experience service. That's good. Gurpreet, sounds like yours. Yeah. Shantanu, be an architect, trying to explore more possibility in design. What does that mean, Shantanu? What's a specific activity? Is that like, it's quite vague. I don't know what you mean. Is that like putting like 10 minutes away to look at a design, like an architecture design, and then brainstorm new designs? I'm not too sure. So it'll be a little bit more specific. Navdeep, intellectual stimulation as a value, taking on new challenges, being proactive and taking initiative, debriefing knowledge and sharing with colleagues. I like the last one. That's quite specific. Taking on new challenges, specifically what new challenges? How do you know when there's a new challenge? You need to get more specific on that. Gurpreet, with growth, more courage to shake up the norm. How do you do that? Gurpreet, Dipin, comfort zones, it works. Yeah, so what's the activity to be more courageous? You need to get more specific on that. But overall, I like it. I like where people are going. The main thing I would probably advise you guys is to be a lot more specific. Like either have a meeting, schedule 30 minutes away to work on XYZ design, take on more public speaking opportunities within my organization, do a specific process improvement. That's pretty specific. Study regularly. How regularly? What does that mean? Is that 2 days a week, 2 times a week, studying more regularly, or one time a week, once a month, attend more courses? How many more courses, Devin? It's always good to get specific. Otherwise, it's a moving target. Obtain more feedback. What type of feedback? Feedback on your subject matter, on how well you perform in your role, on what specific responsibility or task do you want your feedback? Challenge the limits of skill. Yeah, it's quite vague. Need a little bit more specificity there. Shantanu, yeah. Okay, that's a little bit more specific. Good. So this is good. Setting clear goals around achievement, getting a mentor. I've got something in for you, Paneet. Awesome. Cool. So now I think everyone sort of gets that. You sort of get the exercise. You can still look at my thing as an example, but I think everyone's starting to get this really well. So good work there. Now, for the other area of life that you mentioned before, the thing that's not business or career. A lot of people said personal growth, fun and recreation, health. For that area, what are 3 values that you have in an area outside of business and career? I've just given you an example here. Fun and recreation. The 3 values I personally have are adventure, spontaneity, and excitement. These are 3 of my big values when it comes to fun and recreation. So what are your 3 values and what area of life does it relate to? Please put that into the chat. By the way, Hasveen, Max, Saksham, Tran, please contribute. It would be great if you guys can share your insights with everyone as well. Okay, so for Tanvir, for the health area of life, what she values is balance, strength, and sustainability. That's pretty good. Nice. Who else? The more you guys put pen to paper, trust me, the better this is going to be for you personally. The more you commit to getting this out of your head onto either the chat or to paper is going to provide you a lot more clarity. Everyone must be thinking quite a bit. I've only got one response so far. Okay, Shantanu. Would really need to think hard for finances. Definitely need to work on this, but not certain about the 3 aspects yet. So, okay, Shantanu, as an example, I'll just give you some from previous clients. When it came to finances, some of my clients have valued financial freedom, financial stresslessness, or financially free. They valued like sustainable finances. This was a big thing for entrepreneurs. Some like as opposed to a 9-to-5 with entrepreneurship, it's sometimes feast or famine, or every month might be different, right? So they valued stability within their finances. So hopefully that helps spruce some thinking. Section for personal growth, the values are ability to explore new opportunities and avenues, seeing how you can be more well-rounded. Okay. So I would sort of call, like, if I were to give it a just a one-word section for personal growth, it might be adventure or curiosity. It's probably, let me know if that resonates with you. Curiosity as a value in personal growth. Nikita, for personal growth, pushing the boundaries. Okay, cool. Yeah. Finding motivation, pushing myself out of your comfort zone. So is that what you want to have, Nikita? Or is that something that you currently value? For Shantanu, okay, yep, thanks. That great. Happy that I'm helping. Sanam, for personal growth, spirituality, beautiful state, mental stability. The first and the last one makes sense. I don't know what beautiful state means. Is that peace of mind or something? Help me out. Gurpreet, personal growth, learning, exploration, improvement. Nice. Paneet, fun and recreation, excitement, sense of achievement, state of flow. Nice. I can help you on that. Flow. Curiosity probably works. Great section. Not sure if these are values. Oh no, that yeah. So Gurpreet, learning, exploring. Maybe that's adventurous or curiosity. Improvement. I think that's a that's a value. Like, I think a bit of a personal growth. Dip in for health, more powerful mental, emotional, and spiritual layers. Okay, heart rate control, health control, vitality, longevity. Nice. I'd love to find out what you've got planned for the longevity part. For Shantanu, okay, freedom, stability, sensibility. Nice, brilliant. Sonam, Gobi, for Gobinder, for finances, security, excitement, growth, and freedom. Nice, good, awesome. Good work, guys. I think this is really good. Tran, personal growth, values motivation and experience in different sectors. So is experience in different sectors more related to career, and is that more about, like, you value experience? Maybe, I don't know. Feel free to let me know. Good work. So for just one of those values, possibility, nice. For one of those values, I want you to identify 3 activities that are self-initiated and within your realm of control to do so that you can experience more of. As you can see with my one for adventure, I've written that for the value of adventure, the activities are walking on a new route. So I go walking. Some of the people on the call know that I'm a keen walker, and I always love to explore different things, right? So for me to get a very simple way for me to feel a sense of adventure is literally by going on a different route, taking a different thing so I can see something new, I can experience something new. That is just a very small thing that is within my control, that is self-initiated for me to feel like I'm getting my sense of adventure. Going on weekend drives, that's another one. And my favorite, which you guys might think might be funny, but I'm dead serious. My sister, who's on the call, will know that one of my vehicles for fulfilling adventure is going on Google Maps, going on Street View, and literally just like clicking the button and just literally traveling over countrysides, going on the roads, going to India, China, Singapore, Japan, just literally dragging and dropping that little person, dropping them onto the map on any part of the world and just exploring. It sounds weird, but that's also how I get a sense of adventure. So I'd love to find out. Oh, weirdo. Yeah, nice. Thank you. I don't care. I'm confident and secure in myself. But yeah, I'd love to find out what you guys are doing. So for group read, for the value of learning, I'm assuming that's okay. I'm assuming the area of life is personal growth. One of your values is learning, doing online courses, reading, and practicing. Cool. That's awesome. What else, everyone else? Everyone's Navdeep, I can tell who probably typed walkies. So for everyone else, I'd love to know what are those activities that you can do to experience your values. Okay, section. Reading widely, learning by doing. Okay. So the activity of reading, that definitely makes sense. The activity of learning by doing. Yep, okay. So the activity is that you're practically doing something. You're not just leaving it theoretical and conceptual. You're actually practicing it. Cool. So financial sensibility, reading more about financial knowledge and practicing it. Yeah, good. Just as I was reading it, I was thinking, reading more is not necessarily going to help you, but yeah, practicing it, definitely good work. For Tanvir, okay, for health, getting 8 hours of sleep at least 5 days a week. Nice, very good, articulate activity. Making sure to take time out during most days. How much time out? What's your definition of time out? Is that 5 minutes? Is that 10 minutes? How many is most days? Is that 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, etc.? Not spending too much time in front of a screen. Okay, cool. So how much time do you currently spend in front of a screen? And what do you want to bring that down to? Max, for positivity. Okay, positivity is a value. Completing big tasks at work in a timely manner. Okay, cool. Trying not to take things personally. Okay, so the activity might be practicing emotional intelligence or mindfulness or something like that. Change your morning routine. Okay, so what's the activity you want to do in your morning to experience more positivity, Max? At the moment, that's a little bit vague. For Dippin, daily meditation, cool. For how long, probably? Exercise, cool, great, that's a good activity. Exercise obviously will be impacting your physical health. Yeah, if it helps to improve your mental health, that's great as well. Good. Awesome. This is good stuff. Just in the interest of time, I'm going to move on. We've still got about 20 minutes. I'll hopefully be finished in that time frame as well. So after this workshop, what you can do is you can identify values in each area of your life so that you can get really clear as to what's really important to you in each of those different sections. And then you can also work on all the activities to fulfill each of those values. This is overwhelming to do all of this at once. What I'd recommend is, especially at the end of this webinar, start to implement some of these activities, make them a part of your process and your general day-to-day living, and incrementally improve week by week, month by month. It's impossible to do all of this at once. Rome wasn't built in a day. You need to take small steps. Okay. So after this workshop, work on all those values, and over the next couple of months, continue revisiting this. You've got the PDF link that I sent you to the worksheet. Feel free to print out a couple of these specific sheets and then write that down over the next couple of months. Yeah. Awesome. So we are, one thing I wanted to find out is through this exercise, I'm curious, what did you learn about yourself in identifying your values? Very keen on hearing what people have to say. So again, type in the chat. Denver says that I should be more adventurous on Google Maps. Cool. Works for you. That's all good. Who else? What did people learn through identifying their values? Did you potentially learn that there are some things, some areas of life that you've potentially neglected? Learning what I should actually find important and how I apply it to my life. Nikita, you are in the right workshop to be learning that. Awesome. And the next section, we're actually going to be starting to apply this to our life, okay? Max, what I can focus on as a start to development, okay? Gurpreet, okay, neglecting a few things. If I were to share with you the majority of time I spend with my clients is just helping them to rediscover things that they've forgotten. It's generally things from their childhood and their teens that they used to love doing that for some reason or another, they've created beliefs that they can't do that anymore. And years and years and years go by and they feel like, ah, shit, something's really missing. I'm not happy. I'm not fulfilled. I'm not, getting my sense of purpose. Why? It's really through understanding values and just reconnecting with them. Change your values as I'm progressing through life, stage and phases. What's important to me right now? What do I value in this moment? Good. And yeah, completely right, Harpreet. Your values will change depending on which stage of life you're at. Tanvir, to take time to reflect on your goals and how to get there. Yeah. And ultimately, it would be great if your goals are somehow connected to your values. Otherwise, for what purpose are you achieving goals? It's sort of just like a to-do list that doesn't really matter whether you complete it or not. If it doesn't give you a sense of fulfillment, of excitement, of purpose, what's the point in doing it, right? Cool. Good work, everyone. So really happy. Moving on. So we're coming to the end. We're coming to the end of the workshop, right? And what we're going to be doing now is going to be bringing all of this together, bringing the drivers and bringing the values, all of this good insight that you've gotten and that you've been having about yourself. We're going to bring it all together. And so what I don't want to happen for you is that you go back to the old ways of living that weren't aligned with what you really want. And I don't want you to continue wasting years waiting for the ideal career or the ideal life to happen to you. You're not going to open up your drawer or your wardrobe, and the ideal life isn't going to fall upon you. Okay, that's never going to happen. You can't wait for something stupid like that to happen. Never. You have to actively create it. Okay, so what I'd love, and hopefully you guys are of the same opinion, is that I'd love if you could consciously design and create work-life experiences that are aligned with what you actually value and that you'd be passionate and motivated about living. Okay? So there's a person called Stu Friedman. He's an award-winning professional at the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania. This guy is a really smart guy. He's also a best-selling author, and essentially what he mentions is that the key to living a meaningful and less overwhelmed life is to invest in leading a life where you actually stay true to yourself and focus on what matters to you. I think you guys have started to get an inkling of what those things may be. Yeah. By the way, sorry, I just thought of something cool. Some of you guys know that I play a North Indian hand drum called tabla, and I'm really fortunate that my teacher, who lives in India, he's one of the world's best. And a couple of years ago, I was in India, I was traveling with him, and we were going from city to city, and we were teaching classes. And on one of the bus rides, going to one of the cities to the classes, I had asked him, I'm like, how does he do his practice? And he said that every day in the morning, he wakes up at 5 a.m., he does about 1.5 hours of practice. And the reason why he does this is because practice improves his skill and allows him to master his craft. The more he practices, the clearer he's able to play the instrument, the more second nature everything becomes, the less energy he requires to actually do the thing, and the more beautifully the sound is able to be produced. Ultimately leading him for him to master his craft and be a better performer. And through his practice, what he's doing is he's cultivating discipline and self-mastery. Yeah. So as a test to see how you guys are bringing all this knowledge together, what do you think one of his drivers were, just based on what I just said? If you could type into the chat, what do you think one of his drivers were? Growth. Sanam, you nailed it. Growth. Okay. Harpreet, when we talk about the drivers, I'm sorry, should have been more specific. The 6 core needs, which need do you think is driven by? Growth, passion, personal growth. Yeah. Yeah. So the driver is growth. He definitely does value personal growth as well. Now, when it comes to practicing his instrument, what do you think his values were? If you can remember, I said it all the way at the end. What do you think he valued in his practice? Type that into the chat. Ooh, tough. No answers yet. Come on, guys. Nikita, you're technically correct. He does value personal growth. Pride in his work. Yep. Playing the table. Playing the table. Yeah, the life. That's awesome. Mastery. Yeah. So, yeah. So self-mastery and discipline. Those were 2 of his values. So can you start to see how he was actually embedding his drivers and his values into his everyday life? right? So then moving on, he has breakfast. So after he practices 5 to 6:30, he has breakfast, he gets ready, and then he starts his classes. So for his classes, he travels to locations. He might go to 1 or 2 locations per day. He goes generally by bus, and he teaches a mixture of people. He teaches some people who can pay, right? That's obviously how he makes his money. There are people who are willing to pay, right? So he runs classes for people that actually, pay for the lessons. And he also runs classes for the destitute and for the needy and for people who are literally living in poverty, right? And India is an interesting place because you find that music over there, it's far more culturally ingrained, specifically classical music. Unlike in many Western countries, you'll find a lot of people aspiring to be musicians over there. So if you can actually learn an instrument and become, half decent, you can actually start earning a living. So he believes in giving back selflessly to the needy by teaching free classes so they can potentially earn an income and improve their financial situation. So, what do you think one of his core needs or his drivers were with regards to teaching the poor? Contribution. So you're not allowed to answer anymore. You're answering these too quickly. Awesome. Yeah, contribution. I'm kidding. You feel free to answer. Awesome. Contribution. Yes. His core need was contribution. Yep. That he was meaning. Service is definitely a value. His values. Obviously, yeah. Teaching the need, selflessness, service. Absolutely. What do you think his vehicle was? Uplifting people. Yeah, that's another value as well. What do you think his vehicle was for feeling contribution and service? So what was his activity that he did for people to for him to feel those things? Yeah, teaching free classes. Yeah, absolutely. Good work, Capri. Nice. So what damn it. What have you guys found insightful about what I just mentioned? Yeah, what have you found insightful about how my teacher is putting it all together? Yep, putting definitely. So we're definitely putting it all together. What have you found insightful about the story about how my teacher is fulfilling his drivers? Yep, our values can be linked to other aspects. Yep. What do you mean by that, Shantanu? Values determine goals. Uh, they definitely oh yeah, you could say that. Based on what you value, you can then create goals for that. Absolutely. Good work, Harpreet. Value-driven living. Yeah, perfect. That's actually one of my taglines that I put in some marketing material, Harpreet. Shantana, his craft was being used for personal growth, career, finances. Yes, absolutely. Brilliant. I love that you said that. So what you'll find when you start to identify your drivers and your values is that eventually it'll start to interlink. Um, things that you experience in one area will have a benefit into other areas as well. He's using a skill to achieve his value as well as to give to society. Yeah, absolutely. I think, yeah, Shanta, I think you're spot on. You'll start to see that a lot of these things are interconnected. And you'll also notice that when you're not living aligned with your values in various areas of your life, that might start to affect each area of life. So, for example, I had a couple of clients. They weren't in jobs that were good fits for them. So because they were stressed out, they were unmotivated, they started getting burnt out, and they literally just lacked inspiration from their normal day job. They were stressed. They had really low energy levels. So when they came back from work back to their home, that low energy, that burnt out, that burnt out feeling, all that mental fog and stress and everything carried over into how they showed up in other areas of their life. So they did less exercise, they had poorer communication with their friends and the family. You can start to see that if one area of life isn't going well, and if you're essentially living a life that's not aligned to those things very well, it has a knock-on effect to everything. Yeah. So I'll give you another example as well of how you can put this all together. So one of my clients, he was a business analyst for a startup company. He was working remotely. And he had to support different teams that were in different time zones. So ultimately, what he was doing was he was working early in the morning all the way up to late at night. And what he had created for himself was a self-imposed prison. He believed that he had always have to be online for those teams. He only actually had to be online for certain sections of the day, but he thought, no, I have to be online the entire day, right? So his whole, weeks and months on end, he was just stressed because he was just consumed with believing that he had to work the entire day. I'm sure this sounds familiar to people. So anyway, what we did was we found out that his drivers were variety and connection, and that the area of life that he wanted to improve was fun and recreation. No surprise, because he was working the entire day and he wasn't doing anything for himself at all, and pretty much didn't have a social life. So during the day, in between those idle waiting periods where he was waiting for the offshore teams to come online, he would start to go on short walks around the neighborhood. So that was something that he enjoyed. He considered it fun, and it allowed him to be creative, which is one of his values within fun and recreation. He then also stopped working on the weekends. He realized that the work he was doing on the weekends actually wasn't needed, wasn't urgent. He can push it away. So he got his weekends back, and the things that he used to do that he wasn't doing anymore were things that he started to actually do again. So he made the conscious decision to prioritize adventure, which was one of his values within fun and recreation. And one of the activities that he did was that he wanted to do more of was going to the beach. And I remember it pretty clearly. I had the session with him on Friday evening. Saturday morning, I get a text from him saying that, hey, I'm in the Gold Coast. I've booked out a hotel for the weekend with my friend. We're going to the beaches and we're doing hikes. So by doing more of the things that he valued and having that clarity and reconnecting with those things, it was able to give him higher levels of energy. He was more happy, and that actually, the happiness over the weekend provided him energy to kickstart Monday really well instead of it on a downward slump. It actually gave him more energy by doing more of those walks during the week. That again made him feel a lot better. So he showed up to work better, and he showed up to the other areas of his life better as well. So it started really positively affecting things. It has a knock-on effect, right? So everyone's structure of that day is the exact same, right? There's 3 phases, the beginning, middle, and end. I was going to say morning, daytime, and night, but everyone's definition of when they start their mornings and everything is different. So anyway, just think of it as beginning, middle, end. Those are all the phases that every single person has, right? So now what we're going to do is we're going to look at the structure, the average, the common structure of your day over the week, so that you can design more activities to experience more of what you want. Okay, so what I want you guys to do, and probably write it in the chat for now, is to think about your typical work week It might be last week, the week before. I can guarantee you that majority of people's weeks are the exact same. Okay, so think of your typical work week and write down the activities that you do in the weekdays in those sections. So, for example, let me just move this. For example, many people, an activity they'll do in the morning is checking social media and sleeping through an alarm, exercising, getting ready, eating breakfast, catching the bus, driving to work. Within the middle of your day, looking at emails, doing internal meetings, doing some sort of additional task that maybe you've taken on an additional responsibility that you maybe didn't have to do. So taking on and doing on more work. Lunch, coffee. If you smoke, if you do vaping, if you, I don't know, write down those tasks. It's the good and bad. I want you to like literally be bare. Okay, yeah. In the end of the day, you still may be working. You may be checking emails. You might be having dinner, Netflixing, brushing teeth, etc. So I want you guys to be pretty granular here. Start typing into the chat. Go beginning, middle, end. Fill out the activities, and if you are okay with being vulnerable, write down whatever you guys do. There is a purpose. There is a purpose to this, trust me. So feel free to write that in the chat. Maybe instead of taking a long time to write down the whole thing, go beginning of the day, this is what I do. Middle of the day, this is what I do. End of the day, this is what I do. Okay. So for Gurpreet, meditate, breakfast, shower, middle, work, emails, meeting, lunch, end, yoga, exercise, dinner, shower, reading, sleep. Okay, cool. So Gurpreet, great. Maybe you don't need to share this here, but on your worksheet later, I want you to think about even more granularly those activities you do. I'm sure there are activities that you probably don't want to do or that you find yourself doing that you want to stop. Dipin, beginning is meditating and work. Everyone's meditating. Nice. Middle, work, meetings, coffee, lunch break. Yeah. So, yeah, obviously people are writing the same sort of thing. That's great. Okay. Sitting in a car and meditating, great. What would be great is if you guys can be even more granular. This is probably going to require some introspection and you know, looking in hindsight, actually what you do. I can guarantee you 90% of people who are on this workshop right now in the morning will be checking social media in their bed. If not, they're also checking their social media whilst sometime during the night. That's an activity. You got to write that down. Nikita, beginning, wake up, check social media. Oh, okay. Get ready for work, drive to work. Nice. Middle, lunch and work. End, read, Netflix, exercise, sometimes dinner, mindfulness activities before bed. Great. Beginning, having a cup of coffee. Middle, Harvey, you don't do much in the beginning of your day, having a cup of coffee. Well, kidding. Middle, watch an episode of Netflix during lunchtime. Cool. Okay. And quick workout before dinner. Nice. Yep. Good for you, Saksham. Manisha, works. Okay. Thank you for admitting that. Otherwise, get on leave. Cool. So, I think you guys know what I'm trying to get at, right? This is probably something you may also want to do later on after this workshop, but really reflect on your day. Take today as an example, and I'd really highly recommend you print this thing out and work on it later. But think about from the minute you woke up, what were you doing? You can even be a minute by minute action list, right? Because I can guarantee you there's a lot of wasted activities in there, okay? So now what I want you guys to do, it might be hard, might be a little bit harder to do, but what I want you to do is just have a quick check at either what you've written down on your worksheet or what you've typed out. Have a look at those activities and just type in the chat, do you think they're aligned or not aligned with what drives you and what you value? So just type in the chat, aligned or not aligned. Aligned. Okay, cool. Nikita, aligned to some extent. That was from Shantanu. Dippin, not really aligned. Group read, starting to get more aligned. Cool. So for anyone who said not aligned, that's great. All change starts with accepting reality. And so if that's your situation, honestly, I'm actually really happy for you because this is a chance to change it. For those of you who think that it's aligned or, mostly aligned, there's still opportunity to thrive and develop even more, okay? So what I want you to do is just to identify maybe 2 activities in your day, in any phase of the day, 2 activities that you can start or do more of. So type that into the chat. You might find that those activities that you wrote down for your values, if they are things that you want to start or do more of, write that down in the chat. And if you're working on the worksheet, if you've printed it out, for things that you want to start, put a plus sign, and for things you want to do more of, put the greater than sign. That would be good as well. So yeah, if everyone could type into the chat, just 2 activities aligned with their drivers and their values that they would like to do more of. Okay, so dip in, start exercise, less work. Yeah, so I'll talk about that a little bit later, about the less of. Who else? Shintanu, start reading and time management. Okay. So I don't know, it might have been someone else. So I'll just say that time management, what's the activity that allows you to effectively manage your time? So is it creating a to-do list and on every hour checking the to-do list, reviewing it? Yeah, planning time management, yeah, it's not really an activity. Would like to sing more, do more creative activities, need to cut back Insta, social media to 10 minutes a day. Yeah, I think, I can't remember the stat, but I think people waste like 30 to 50 days a year, or is it maybe 20 days a year, 20 days of like 24-hour days just on checking social media and checking their phones. Like it's an incredible amount. If you can scale that to 10 minutes a day, wow. Harpreet, actually reading a book for myself, want to do more of looking up healthy recipes for dinner. Cool. So Harpreet, what I might suggest is that the activity might want to do more of is cooking more healthy dinners, and like a pre-activity is researching what a healthy recipe is. From Sam Gobinder, 30-minute ride on my bike each morning. Cool. Good. So, okay, I think everyone's starting to get this, right? You want to do more things, or you want to start some activities. Great. So now, as we all live in modern lives where everything is competing for your attention, adding more things to your plate probably isn't going to work. So the fact that you want to do these things on top of what you currently are doing probably isn't going to work, okay? So what we need to do is review those activities, see things that we want to stop or do less of. And the things that we want to stop or do less of, it has to be practical and ecological. So for example, you can't stop working and still expect to be paid. Or you can't work less and let the work pile up if you're just doing the same amount of work, just less hours, right? If you want to work less, you need to either become more effective and efficient, so you become more effective and efficient in how much of work you do. So instead of something taking you 8 hours, you can get done in 4 hours. If that's your definition of work less, that's okay, but it has to be practical and ecological, okay? The other thing is, like, you can't potentially, so if you're the primary carer for someone and you're like, nah, screw it, I don't want to take care of them anymore, I'm going to stop taking care, is that ecological? Is there people that depend on you? If there is, potentially, instead of stopping it, and you've got siblings or something, or you've got money, how can you either get your siblings to help share the load, or how can you either pay for someone through financial means, use a paid service as a vehicle for you to start getting your time back. So what I wanted to ask you guys is, what are some of the activities that you think you can stop or do less of, and why do you think you can actually deprioritize them? Let me know in the chat. Benit, thank you for attending. All good. I'm actually a little bit over. I'm going to try to wrap up pretty shortly. So yeah, just type in the chat. What are some of the activities that are on your current list? What are some of the activities that you can stop or do less of, and why? Spend less time at work, yeah. So Gurpreet, I think yeah, you need to creatively problem solve how you spend less time at work. Where are you spending the majority of your time? Is it on hard tasks? Is it on hard activities? Is it because you've got too much work? Do you need to have a conversation in terms of workload to one of your managers or boss? How can you stop that? Gobin, stop sleeping in. Get up earlier and perhaps go to bed earlier. Yeah. So I think for you, Govinda, it like, if you genuinely want to stop sleeping in, good. If you like doing it, that's okay. If it just means that you stay up later, that's okay. But is it ecological? Are you giving time to your partner, or are you restricting time by sleeping in, etc., right? You sort of need to make sure that these things are either aligned to what you want, or if you're in your relationship, things that you guys both want. Nikita, stop checking social media every other minute because it's distracting and contributes to procrastination. Yeah, so, okay. So, yeah, I think, Nikita, there's quite a few techniques. I'm not going to be able to share them all on this workshop, but this is something that I help out with. How do you stop procrastinating, right? Okay, everyone else, keen to hear what are the things that you do. Looking at doing less, looking at, okay, less looking at non-essential videos on my phone during free time at work, not productive. Cool. So what I would say here is in order to stop or do less of these things, you need to be focused on more of what you want. If you want to do more things, if you want to do more, start various things, then what you need to do is focus on that and then really feel the energy to start doing more of those things, okay? And what I'd suggest is for you guys, and I'm getting some feedback. I'm a little bit over. I apologize, guys. I'm going to wrap up in the next 10 minutes. But just to finish off this section, what I'd suggest is that consciously add one of the activities you want to do more of, and consciously try to eliminate at least one activity you want to stop or do less of. Practice that over this week, and slowly, as that starts to get embedded within your routine, you'll continue to keep on making those improvements. Okay, so I think that's pretty much bringing it to. We've sort of gone through this. That literally brings us to the end of the workshop. And in terms of a summary, what we've done is that we have really looked at what are your drivers. So what's that North Star to help shape your career and your life direction. The drivers were significance, certainty, connection, variety, growth, and contribution. So we looked at that and we identified what your core drivers were. We then looked at what your values were in each area of your life. So we looked at holistically what are all the different areas of your life, and we looked at one area that you think needs the most amount of improvement, and we identified 3 values, 3 things that you think are really important to you in that one area of life. And then we also identified activities you can do to experience more of that value. Yeah. And finally, the activity that we just did was designing your ideal work-life activities. And as I mentioned, focus on embedding one activity you want to do more of, at least for the next week. Honestly, after this workshop, if you've got a value or drive and you've got an activity linked to it that you want to do more of, do it today, do it this afternoon, do it tomorrow, okay? And then actively be conscious of the things you want to do less of. Yeah. So yeah, that's it. So trying to wrap up the next 5 minutes. Curious, out of this whole workshop, what's been most useful to you? What are your biggest aha moments out of this workshop? Please use the chat. Yeah, so feel free to write what has been the most useful to you in this very lengthy workshop, which I apologize for. Identifying your drivers from Nikita. Great. And how do you think that's impacted you, Nikita, by identifying your drivers? What does that mean for you now? What are the benefits? What can you do more of? Shantanu, finding value in the activities you do. Great. Gurpreet, learning. It's good to learn and have time to think about all these things. Absolutely. Gurpreet, as I mentioned, right? How many times have you actually really thought about what makes you tick in life? I can guarantee for a lot of people, not a lot, right? Dip in, writing down the values, drivers, and then identifying what and how you would achieve your goals. Great. For some, Gorbin, getting back in touch with my values and learning to design activities from rather than just doing. Yes, very well put. I find a lot of people are just doing without understanding what's happening. And I think, yeah, just doing things, it can become a habit, right? Just doing, and years and years and years and years go by. And I'm quite fortunate that a lot of the people that I work with are more on the middle age bracket, and it's a little bit concerning that, you know, they're 40, 50 years old and they realized, oh shit, what was I actually just doing, right? Cool. Awesome. I'd also like to find out, what did you most enjoy about this workshop? So yeah, feel free to type in the chat. What did you most enjoy? What was your thing that you were like, oh, great, that's the best takeaway from the workshop? Hearing other people's thoughts, yeah, brilliant. And I'm glad, I'm really happy that everyone sent a message to all panelists. Good work. I think it's Albert Einstein who says the a problem can't be solved at the same level in which it was created. In order to solve your problem, you actually need to step up to a higher level. So by hearing other people's thoughts, your perspectives are consistently expanding, right? I like the Wheel of Life. Thank you. The story about your double art teacher puts things into perspective. Yeah. And Nikita, I think, so I included that story not because everyone, like, I'm sure that probably hardly anyone here plays music and they're like, how is this relevant to me? But again, seeing something radically different from what you're used to allows you to expand your perspective. So good. Very happy. Good work, guys. So that is a wrap. It has been emotional. It's been 1 hour, 55 minutes. I'm getting messages and texts from people that I'm going over overboard. So I apologize for that. Just a couple more things. I want you to do me a favor. On Monday, I want you guys to message me and say how life has changed for you if you're doing something new. So there's my email address, Amity.Biljo now. I want you to message me with what you've actually done and implemented from this session. That's the first thing. If you want to read some of my stuff, I've got a couple of posts on my website. Feel free to do that. If you want to stay in contact, just to have a chat, or you want to talk about your goals and all that sort of stuff, jump on my website. I got a free 15-minute session if you guys want to take advantage of that. And I also want to share something. So you guys know that I'm also the leadership development lead for YSPN, and I'm leading a team at the moment. One of them is on the call right now, and they've been putting a significant amount of effort to bring you something really cool, which is really going to help you benefit professionally. So next week sometime, we are going to be launching an area on our website providing you expert content. The content is on things like building a high-performance team, having a performance management conversation, learning how to better communicate, managing stress and anxiety at work, and also how to strategically network with people. So we've got 5 videos from 5 people. Yours truly is one of them. And we're giving that for free. All you need to do is just put your email address, you'll get it, and it's normally worth about $97, okay? So look out for an email next week from us. For everyone who is not on our YSPN mailing list, we'll add you after this, or the emails that you used to sign up for this, you'll get the email next week. And make sure that you follow us on social media so that you can see the posts that we're going to make. And after that, we're going to be actually launching our mentoring program. Apologize for how crazy this picture is. That's our Brisbane and our Sydney catch-ups that we had last year. And for those of you guys who don't know about what the mentoring program is, it's a completely online, it's a group-based program. So similar to Gurpreet, how you just mentioned that you've gotten different perspectives from the participants. This is how the group program is going to run. You're going to be a part of a group of up to 5 mentees with a mentor on a specific topic. Those topics are generally going to be around entrepreneurship, professional services, public speaking, career planning, and how to join a board. So those are the topics that we're offering. And if you're a good fit, we're going to be putting you with 5 other people that are similar to you with a mentor, and you're really going to be able to leverage not only your mentor's experience, but also the insights, the lessons learned, the challenges of your peers in your group. And that's ultimately going to help to expand your perspective as well and your lessons. So this program runs for 3 months. There's 1 session a fortnight. So there's 6 sessions in total over 3 months. It's completely online. You sign in via Zoom. We'll be doing it. It's a paid program. I'm going to mention that. I'm not too sure what you guys thought of this particular workshop, but I've sold it fairly expensive in the past. I've obviously done an accelerated run through. I can confidently say that the values that the mentees get and that the value of our program is worth thousands of dollars, and all you're going to be paying is less than 1/10 of that. Yeah. So we're also introducing a payment plan just to make it more financially sustainable for people. And I think the value it provides is multiple. There were 2 really cool stories last year, and I'll just talk about that in just one more minute. There were 2 really cool stories. One girl I remember, she was a young grad in a very technical role, and she wanted help with public speaking. So she wasn't that great. She got the help. One of the mentors was from Strategy Ann, so he was a consultant. He provided, some amazing models to her, really got her to practice. And I remember at the end of the program, she sent us a message saying, I just want to say that I'm so happy that I actually improved my public speaking skills. I have been given an opportunity to present to our IT town hall. That is a group of 200 people on a specific topic. This is a grad who is a highly technical, who was bloody afraid of public speaking. The other one was of this lady. She was due with her 2nd child. She was a commercial manager, and she was working on the weekends. And due with her 2nd child, she already had 1, and she had a partner. She was working on the weekends, didn't have much time for them. And after her very first session on time management, she essentially stopped working on the weekends. She found out how she can fit everything into the weekdays, stopped working on the weekends. I can't tell you how life-changing that is. That as a mom with her 2nd baby due on board, that she now has a full 2 days per week to spend time with the people that are important to her. So I can promise you there will be amazing value. As with this workshop, you only get out what you put in. So over the next couple of weeks, stay tuned and follow us on our social media. You'll also be getting emails. If you're interested in this, and we've made it significantly better than we had last year, do apply. So that's it, everyone. I've been Amardeep. You've been amazing. Thank you so much. I know that there's a whole bunch of different people on here, speak different languages. Thank you so much, and that's it for the day. I will talk to you guys later. I'll send out the recording, and I might send out a survey as well. I'm really keen to hear more about what you guys thought and any feedback. Thank you so much. We will be dialing out momentarily as quickly as I find out. So yeah, thank you, everyone. Cheers. Have a great weekend. And remember, send me an email on Monday with how you went. Okay? Cheers, everyone. Bye.